responsibility instead of putting it off on that transition. Sometimes is a challenging mission. And this one was a little tough for me. He said, Mr. Owen, you've got pennies in your pocket, you've got nothing in the bank, creditors are calling, you're behind on your promises. He says, here's how that occurs. You've attracted, up until now, you've attracted the things to you because of the person you've become. Now I said, well, how can I change all that? He said, very simple. If you will change, everything will change for you.
Well, let us end it right there. If you will change, everything else will change for you. Good afternoon. This is not my meeting. This is for Maswati. I've got my team down there that are supposed to take over. And let me hand over to you, Mr. Nchalinchali, and your team. I see you're all here. Fufu, Mr. Nchalinchali, the Deputy Chair of Eswatini Amandla Mnotho. Over to you.
Well,
I'm sure, Fufu, I'm not sure. Can you unmute yourself there? Because I think on my hosting tools, you can unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, Mr. President and the entire team. Oh, my chairman has unmuted himself.
Continue, Secretary.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, President, for helping us host this session today. I'm not sure if the chairman would like to give a few remarks before Sikale our session today, but our guest is on the line. He has joined.
Thank you so much, Secretary and our spokesperson, our President, Nonkosi, tikhulumi tethu lesinato namuhla i-team yonke labo bonke labakhona from all over the world to attend. We are honored and privileged. Siyabonga kakhulu nje na speaking sethu. Kwami kufishane kuphela ukuthi siyanemukela nonke nokuthi nje nijoyine nibe khona isikhathi lesihle lesi asilaleleni amandla omnotho kafishane nje inemagama lamathathu kuphela. The first word is to lithi implementation, and the lesibili lithi implementation, lesithathu ke lona lithi implementation. So sinaloko nje ukuthi amandla omnotho implementa asikho ekukhulumeni kakhulu but sisekusebenteni. Over to you, Secretary. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair. Once again, Maswati Lamahle siyanivusela namhlanje ntambama sibonga ukuthi nibe khona kule session yethu yanamuhla yezweni. Kuyintokozo enkulu kithi Maswati ukuthi sinilethele inkampani lekuthiwa i-Industrial Development Company of Eswatini. I'm sure you've seen them along ilogo yabo length, you've seen them along the Swazi Plaza and the corporate place. But you didn't, I'm sure you didn't know, we had little information. This company can actually help you to take your business to the next level in terms of finance. So with us today, Sina Mr. Mthunzi Dlamini from the Industrial Development Company of Eswatini, IDC, who is the Business Development Manager there, who's going to tell us more about what are the finance options. We are hearing very wonderful news from the company because of this company's assistance. Mr. Dlamini, please go ahead, sir. Take us through what the company can actually do for Maswati.
Okay. I have been made to understand that the presentation is basically going to focus on the product offering that IDC has for SMEs. So my presentation will basically focus on, it will be in two sessions. The first one is to identify problems that we have seen with the SMEs, which are most prevalent in the country. And then to say, what are the type of product offering that we have prepared for SMEs within the country. And then lastly, it would be the identified similar problems that we have with SMEs, which mainly range from inability to perform and a wide range of other problems that as IDCE we believe are most prevalent with SMEs. So on the first part, I think we are all aware that we are operating in a very, very competitive environment. And also in an environment that lacks exposure to a variety of projects and business offerings. That tends to allow for a lot of copy, you know, where the youth who are most predominant in the SME space would tend to copy what they perceive to be a successful business from their peers, and then they all do the same. So that limits diversification and innovation for new product offering and new business ideas that should come through. So as part of our product offering, we have created what you would call a synergy within our SME space, where we try to get them to be together so that they can share information. That is one. And two, to try and create value chain in their operations, to say maybe if there's one that does tracking, we try to link them together with one that requires transportation for their goods, so that at least there can be that value chain that enhances each other's operation. And also we realize that the financial ability by our SMEs to control finance once it reaches their account is another element that creates problems in terms of their ability to deliver. So we now try to say, let us have sort of like sessions with their service providers. For instance, if maybe one has received an order or maybe has a contract, we then try to say, let's have a session with the contract provider so that when it is time to pay, what is due to the financier is paid directly. That does help because at least it gives him a little bit of more ability to say he only gets what is due to his business, and it enhances his ability to meet his financial obligations in that way. So those are the main problems that we have identified, which is the diversification part, the financial management and discipline part, and then the ability to think out of the box and come out with product or with a variety of businesses that can create that required diversification within the SME space. Such that, you know, I'm not sure if you have had a discussion probably with the youth fund. When you go to the youth fund type of projects, most of them are in the agricultural space, where they are doing mainly broiler chickens, they are doing mainly piggery, they are doing mainly gardening, you know, there's not much innovation that comes from that. So those are some of the problems that we try to understand by creating the linkages and the value chain. When it comes to product offering within IDCA, we have loan offerings that range from 20,000 up to whatever the business needs. But there we are controlled by the government's classification of SME, because government has got that classification that it must not be below 8 million in terms of 10 revenue generation per annum, and then also the asset base and all that. So that is where we base our category for an SME offering. It's that they must not be below 8 million in terms of annual revenue generation, and their asset base must not exceed at least 500,000. And then they must employ at least not more than 8 people, employees. So if it is below and it meets that category, that's how we classified an SME offering within IDCA. And then our product offering ranges. It ranges from leasing facility where we can offer them equipment to enhance their business operations, to working capital loans, to other finance loans, to agricultural, and yeah, I think that is the main offering, which is the working capital, the leasing for equipment, and then agricultural loans. And then also for operational loans, where you find that maybe they want to venture into retail space, and then we've got a facility that is sufficient for them to operate within that space. For the working capital, we finance all their business operating needs, mainly for stock, for acquiring, mainly for stock and for working capital, like to meet their day-to-day operations, salaries, and all those type of things. And then we've got leasing, where we help them to acquire equipment, working equipment, and tools, including purchase of motor vehicles, purchase of trucks, purchase of working equipment, and small equipment, mainly for their operations. And then we also have agricultural loans across all the agricultural sectors within the country. But what we have witnessed is that where there is no proper structured offtake arrangements, like for instance, high value crops, where you talk about agricultural produce like vegetables, there's been very difficulty in terms of one meeting a sustained operational position within the SME, and also to sustain the supply, because oftentimes you find that if you have an order, it requires you to meet a certain level on a monthly basis or on a weekly basis. But oftentimes you find that our SMEs are not able to meet that requirement, and they would just supply once or maybe twice, and then after that they are not able to sort of like rotate their operations. So the high value crops, we have witnessed quite a number of inability to meet their financial obligations, to an extent that we are now limiting what we can offer under the agricultural space for high value crops, which we realize is a problem as a company, which we are still trying to find a way to say, how can we better that? Because we realize that food security is one of the key things that we must also come up with as a company to work on. So On the agricultural space, we are most predominant in the sugar cane industry, in the grain industry, mainly for maize and beans, where we offer working capital to buy seeds, to buy chemicals, to buy fertilizers, and also to pay salaries between the period of planting up to the time of harvesting. So that's what we finance mainly for the agricultural, including equipment for tractor services, in fact, even for the implements within the agricultural space. Currently, for instance, in the last year, for non-sugar cane production, we have extended, when I say last year, I mean between the period from June 2024 to now, as at 30th March 2025, we have extended total funding within the agri space, which is outside of sugarcane, where we have a well-structured repayment program and offtake agreements. We have funded projects of close to 59 million within that space. But within that 59 million, we are looking at mainly at beans and maize, very little on high value crops. So that talks to how we are not able to create a whole-rounded financing structure for those projects, mainly because of the problems that we have seen in terms of ability to meet financial obligations by SMEs that operate outside of the structured offtake agreement levels. And then on the leasing part, we have financed quite a number of SMEs that are in the public transport sector, mainly for Kumbi. Between the same period, we have got more than 15 million that we've extended for the public sector transportation. That will fall under lease facilities. And the requirements there are just quite simple. As long as you have the permit for the route to operate, you have a deposit which is equivalent to 10% of the value of the asset that you are looking for. And what we have seen to be working is that the operator must not have one Kumbi within that space. At least he must be acquiring his second Kumbi. Because if it is one, then we have realized that the income generation ability by one Kumbi will not be sufficient to cover the repayment. So you must have at least one that is fully paid, and then you must operate one that still has debt. And the performance so far has been very, very exceptional, to an extent that within the 5 million, I think we've got about 1% a non-performing level within that space. So I think it's a model that is working for us, and we are still looking forward to increasing from that element, except for what we have just seen within that market, where I think there is, to try to control the saturation, they now operate on what they call a 1-day phase out program, where if you have operated on a Monday, then you park your car on Tuesday, you operate again on Wednesday, you park your car on Thursday, you operate on Friday. So there are some routes which I think within their operations, they've tried to say, let us limit the saturation within that. So I think that is what is going to create a problem now, but we're still trying to make more research to find out how we can cap that. But not all the routes. I think mainly it's the Mbabane-Manzini route which has encountered those problems of saturation. So I think I've spoken about working capital, where we find those requirements. I've spoken about the leasing facilities. I've spoken about our our agricultural loans, I think I need to speak about the order finance. There is a lot of order finance that we also are involved with, mainly across all sectors. Even there, we've financed projects that are orders that are within micro projects. We financed orders that are within other companies like Res, like Ilovo, and even other small companies, even the wholesale industry, where they would request an SME to where they order their stock through an SME, and then we finance even those for the wholesale, which is the retail industry. Our requirements for order finance is mainly a confirmed order. And I think I've mentioned earlier in my presentation that we also then require to have a session with the contracting company to say that once the payment is due, whatever is due to IDC is paid directly, and then the rest is paid directly to the client. That does help because at least it eases the burden of the SME having to pay directly from his account. At least he knows that whatever goes to his account is over and above what he needs to pay for the financial obligation that he has secured to fulfill that order. And then the only risk that we have there would be specific performance, that we try to make sure that he performs according to the order requirements. And once he has performed, then the payment will come, and then IDC will be paid in that way. So we have seen that model to be really working for us. It is only those projects that delay payment. You find that then the projects, they delay to pay to an extent that we get to a point where we have to stop the interest accumulation, because otherwise you would find that by the time the payment comes through, most of what the SME would be getting will be eroded by the interest. So what we normally do for order finance, the requirements is that it is the maximum period would be 6 months, subject to restructuring if maybe the payment has still not been forthcoming within the 6 months. And then our interest rate for an order finance is prime plus 4.5%. That 4.5, it ranges between prime plus 2 up to prime plus 4.5%. The maximum interest rate charge of 4.5% is mainly determined by the risk that we envisage for that particular order finance. For instance, such risk would be maybe being a first-time operator within that product offering that he is buying. And secondly, you find that some of them, they are buying from South Africa. And it gets to a point where sometimes we've got to deposit the money into their account, because you find that maybe they're getting from different suppliers in South Africa. So for us to pay directly, it would be cumbersome for the SME in case he gets to one place and he doesn't find everything that he is looking for. So we tend to put the money into his account and trust that he's going to go to South Africa and source everything that he needs in order for him to meet the order. So such risks, then we find that we price higher than our normally, where prime plus 2%, prime plus 3, then it becomes the maximum of 4.5, which is the same rate that the central bank charges for their credit guarantee scheme. So we feel that because of that, at least let us align it with that scheme. We also participate in the credit guarantee scheme, where there is an offering of up to 1 million for the SME, but they must provide 5% a cash deposit, or if they already have done some work on the project, which can be equated to the 5%, then there's no need for them to produce the 5% in cash. Until recently, we have signed up with the Financial Inclusion, FinCLUD, to participate in a guarantee which is similar to that of the central bank. For that guarantee, we are looking at the lower end of the market where we will fund projects up to a maximum of 100,000. We are trying to come in and assist those SMEs which are beyond the threshold of the Enterprise Youth Fund, which funds up to 35 years. And then once you are above 35 years, you no longer qualify under that scheme. So we want to take that over and try to fund from 35 on upwards for those SMEs that have surpassed the threshold for the Youth Enterprise Fund. And then also our requirements for the working capital loan, it must be, we do also startups. So even if it is a new business altogether, but as long as they've got cash flows to prove that the project will be viable, so we do look at it. And we do not have any maximum amount that we finance for working capital for an SME, as long as the requirement for that particular SME is within the threshold of what we use to classify an SME. So that is our threshold there. And then the interest rate is the same. We fund between prime up to prime plus 7% per annum for a working capital loan, which is mainly for stock, for operating costs of the business to meet day-to-day operations, including payment of salaries and everything else. So our interest rate is from prime up to prime plus 7 per annum, which is the same. And then the rest will be the will be the cash flow projections, the business plan. In terms of security, we look into a number of aspects, because most SMEs would not have security, basically. So what we look for is an SME that is, but if it is a startup, we insist that there must be a little bit of a commitment that comes from the SME. So that commitment could either be in the form of a contribution by the SME into the business to contribute a certain amount. For instance, if the total project cost is 500,000, and then we said he must contribute at least 10% or 5% of that 500,000, which must go into the project itself. So at least we see that there is that element of commitment by the SME into the project. Coming to the last end of my presentation, it will focus mainly on the problems that we've identified in terms of a repayment ability. What we can say is that the repayment ability for most SMEs is very low. I think currently our benchmark, we should be at 19% in non-performing loans, but we're slightly above that. I think we're sitting at about 26% NPL. So that does create an element of a stringent approach to say, how do we find a way around it? But what we have seen is that oftentimes we need to reduce the cost of funding to the SME by reducing maybe the interest rates and other costs associated with it. That is one. Two, we have realized that there has to be very, very strict monitoring and implementation process. You know, there has to be structured visitations to the project to monitor how it is performing. Once you give the SME a leeway to operate on its own, by the time you get there, you'll find that there's no more business. So it becomes very costly for IDCE to actually do the monitoring and making sure that the implementation goes accordingly, especially for those projects that have a longer implementation process. unlike the order where you just have to make sure that the order is sufficiently supplied. But those that are mainly in the agricultural space, in the construction space, you need to engage proper monitoring structured for those type of clients. So besides the repayment and the monitoring part of it, then there's elements of financial discipline on the type of the promoter. You find that once they have received the funds and maybe they've even made repayments to IDCE, when he comes back for the next loan, he comes back with nothing again, like it is a startup. So I think the element of financial discipline has to come into place. And also record keeping is another challenge that we have seen. There is no proper record keeping. And also the issue of succession planning. There is very limited succession planning that is there. If anything happened to that particular SME, then the project falls away. And there's very little a repayment ability that you can get from that. And also, there is no growth. The SMEs don't grow. I think it maybe is the element of financial management that impedes their ability to grow in the business to a point where most an SME today becomes a business banking client the next day. So I think all those elements is what stifles growth within the SME sector. And then also, we have seen that there is no proper support for SMEs from well-established companies. You find that their requirements for allowing an order or maybe even allowing a tender is beyond ability by the SME to meet those requirements. So as a result, you find them operating at a very, very informal sector without getting into those, mainly because of the stringent tender requirements that are being imposed by some companies, including our government. Even their tender requirements are very, very stringent for a normal SME to meet. So all those are elements that we have seen within the SME sector. But I think maybe in closing, what I think we need, besides just offering finance, is education, is exposure for SMEs to other sectors, maybe through interchange programs with other developed countries where they can go and be able to see how they operate and be able to see and appreciate the different sectors of the economy in which they can play. That is going to assist to limit the copycat syndrome in terms of the business offering that they have, where you find that all of them are basically in the same sector. At least it will create that diversification. Also, there has to be investment into financial management to help them to be able to produce proper cash flow projections, budgets for their business that they can interpret, analyze, and be able to be articulate in putting across their points. And also even the business plan formulation, most of them find that they can't even comprehend it when you come to sit with them to say, tell me what your business does. So all those are some of the impeding factors that we've seen within the SME sector. Lastly, as IDCE, we are basically, our mandate is to industrialize the country. So we also have factory shells that we have availed for our SMEs to come and participate in. Previously, we had very huge where you would have up to 3,000 square meters, but what we have done now, we have subdivided them into smaller units, of 20, 30, 50 square meters to allow that industrialization, where even if you want to produce, like for instance, recently we have received one SME wanted to produce oil from sesame oil seeds, and he's operating within our space to work and produce that sesame seed. And then we have given him a finance for the equipment that he needs and also working capital to get the sesame seeds into the country in order for him to produce. So we have seen very, very good growth within the manufacturing sector at a smaller scale for our SMEs to be able to participate. So the offering of a factory space is also another enhancement. And if you operate within our space, it is even easy to do the monitoring and the evaluation from time to time as to how they operate. So basically, I think in a nutshell, that is what IDC is all about within the SME space. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dlamini, for such a wonderful presentation. I'm sure Imaswati are taking this up and they will actually come to your offices to seek for such funding. At this point in time, Mr. Dlamini, if anyone has a question, please raise your electronic hand so you can forward your question to Mr. Dlamini. Reverend, please go ahead. Sir.
Thank you, Liliana Mfundo. I'm not sure. Greetings, family. Thank you so much for the presentation. I'm not sure if I'm the only one, maybe with phone problems. I didn't see anything on the screen that was supposed to be revealing stuff to us. So can I be helped? Maybe it's my phone problem. I saw there was a screen, but it didn't have anything. I just see your shoes now, and I was eager to see what was being presented there. And one of the things is I'm still a baby with Umnoto, so I don't have much knowledge. But one of the things that came to my mind is how are we affected by the free Africa trade issue at the moment, and is it going to help small businesses into the future to see Africans having a freer environment in doing business and growing into it? Thank you.
Mr. Dlamini, please go ahead and answer some of the issues that Mary has raised.
No, thank you so much for that. Okay, sorry, regarding the shared screen, I didn't have any shared a presentation, but what I have, I think I'm not sure if you will be able to send it out to the team after my presentation. I can send you on email my written presentation, but I was not able to share it on the screen. And then on the second question. Okay, yeah, please, I'll share it and then maybe you can distribute it amongst the members that are on the screen. And then on the second question regarding the Free Africa Continent Trade Agreement area, I think that is a very large, is the largest trading area that brings across about 55 African Union member states. The aim of that agreement is basically to ease intertrade arrangements between the member countries. I was lucky to attend another meeting where they were actually trying to come up with dismantling the barriers that exist within the member states of the free trade agreement. So we hope, and once that agreement is in place, there will be that free trade amongst the member states. But currently, we do see those impediments really between trade within those countries, mainly brought about by tariffs that are being imposed, and also even the barriers that you see within our border posts, where if you are exporting any goods outside of the country, there will be very stringent arrangements at the border for you to declare the declaration. Sometimes they take hours for you before you can move your goods. So all those impediments, I think once that agreement is, in fact, it was signed and launched, but I think the implementation process is what needs to take effect now, so that there can be free movement of goods between the member states. But currently, I fully agree with you. It is impeding on free trade, but we hope that once the agreement is in full implementation, then there would be those barriers that will be eased. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other question, Mr. Lamas?
I think I did see someone. I did see someone had written, but there was a written question from someone. I don't know, where do you have your, would you have your comments from clients that have written their questions? I saw someone writing a question.
Yes, Ngozi, there was someone who was asking, where are IDC offices in the country?
Oh, okay. We are based in Mbabane on the 5th floor of Lanubega building, next to the post office, next to the central bank. Lanubega building,
you,
office
Baba.
number 4, or floor number 5.
All right, thank you. I'm sure that answers the question. And then another question that I saw was the requirements for agricultural production. I'm sure the was saying they missed that part. I'm sure with what you're gonna share with us, we'll be able to forward to it's because I'm important about those requirements as well. And then another question was, will IDC fund an agricultural project with a solar power component?
Okay. Thank you for that. Yeah, I think you're quite right. Some of the other questions will be answered from the presentation that I will share with you. But on the last one, we do a lot of solar power projects, especially for agriculture enhancement, where we try to ease the cost of irrigating through the grid. So what we have seen the trend now is that most of the farmers, especially in the sugarcane field, those that were funded and are spending a lot on electricity through the grid, we have quite a number of projects that were funded for solar. So the long and short answer to that is that yes, we do participate in solar projects. Currently, we're funding one huge solar project that has a capacity to produce up to, I think it's 15 kilowatts. So that is one of our target sector, basically.
All right, thank you so much. Other than agriculture, but for media production. Did you get me? Because the question on other industries, technology or equipment for meeting.
Yes, those are, in fact, that will fall within our list sector. So yes, we do, and we do encourage technology projects across the range. It helps to diversify the product offering that we have. So yes, we do fund projects within that sector.
Ngesikhoza sicela usicheckele iposition uhle ungavakali kahle umane umenza wonye secretary. Thank you.
Thank you, Slado. Apologies, my network is doing me things today. Otherwise, thank you so much, Nkosi, for such a wonderful presentation. If there is no any other question, Maswati, for today, that will be all that we had for you. And we would like to extend our deepest gratitude to our president, Mr. Kaba, for helping us host this session today. And we also extend our gratitude and appreciation to you, Mr. Mtunzi, for granting us your time and doing such a presentation with us, and to the entire Maswati that are in this group today. Siyabonga Maswati ukuthi nibe khona lana, and we are hoping this is not just a talk. The chairman, when we started, did say, in Amandla of North, we are all about implementation. So we hope that and IDC's offices are going to be flooded with your requests from today's presentation. Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, if there's nothing else from you, I will go ahead and say good evening.
My apologies, may I please come in briefly with an invitation? We will be having our customer day on the 8th of May at the George Hotel in Manzini. We're starting at 9. We would like to extend an invitation to your office to come and showcase what you do. It will be for free. You can just come with whatever. We are looking to have about 70 SMEs that we have invited for our customer day. And we would encourage maybe even your office to come in and showcase your product offering on that day. So if you would have time, this will be an invitation, but we can send you a formal invitation as well if you would accept. Thank you.
Thank you so much, because we will definitely do that. We'll definitely forward our invitation to your offices. We look forward to such host.
No, thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Secretary. We appreciate that for your for coming through and really gracing us and giving us all of this. There's just 2 things to say. One, I wanted to understand what is your interest rate in Eswatini, because I just heard you saying it's prime plus. And then lastly, we obviously, you spoke about high value crops, and I'm glad here that we've got Mr. Magumbe, who is popularly known for the, what's this thing, the turmeric, which is one of the high value crops. And he obviously is here listening, and I'm sure he's going to be visiting Eswatini. Mr. Magumbe, when are you visiting Eswatini? Okay, but it's coming, I think, this coming weekend, invited by some of our farmers who are producing high value crops, where literally
I'm coming on Friday.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm obviously going to ask that Emaswati take advantage of him coming. He's obviously been invited by some of our farmers. So it's very important that when he comes there, kindly take advantage of him being there, because we have already trained quite a number of Emaswati on these high value crops. And I do hope that as well, with our American friends who are here, Brother Charles and Brother Joe, we'll be able to leverage off our agreement on CASNet to make sure that we assist you as Emaswati about many programs that you want to push through, in particular in the agric space. So that was all. Thank you for holding the fort and always pushing this. Please do this quite for more than one time a month, as we have spoken. And thank you so much.
Oh, siyabonga nasekukhuluma President Secretary nami sengehle ngelibonza, siyabonga nje kakhulu. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Maswati Namahle. It's a good evening from the office of Amanda Omnoto in Eswatini. Thank you so much for being with us here.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.